Go ahead and start the City of North St. Paul City Council regular meeting for May 4th. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone. At this time, Jenny, if you could take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson?
Here.
Councilmember Peterson? Here. Councilmember Wong? Here. Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Mayor Furlong?
Here. Quorum is present. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cole,
Second.
second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This time we have a presentation. We're finally getting back to a little bit of normalcy. Yeah, we'll grab him here, and we have Officer Mike Lang, who will be retiring. Sergeant. The whole crew is here? Almost. If you want to come up, where do you want me? Come on up over here. We'll stay 6 feet apart. So we'll do that. It's nice to get back to normal, somewhat normal in the chambers here, to recognize you, Mike. You've been here a long time. Known you for many years. St. Peter's, working at in the gym there for the weddings and all that. And I'm sure you have many, many stories of all your years here, good, bad, or indifferent. But we'd like to thank you for all your years of service. So I'd like to present to you Michael A. Lang, the mayor, council, city manager. Wish to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to you on your retirement for the North St. Paul Police Department. You provided outstanding, loyal, and dedicated service to our entire community for over 27 years. We extend our best wishes for a long, happy, and healthy retirement. We're all jealous of you that you can do that. Thank you for a job well done. April 30th, 2021 is your last day. So, Mike, for you.
Thank you, sir. No, give a speech, right?
We can have a speech. We can have a little speech. Say a couple words. Nope.
No, I just want to say thanks. It's been a good 27 and a half years. Thanks to the chief, what he's done for me, and the council for the promotions and the opportunities to work here, and so I can enjoy my retirement.
You got a best story?
No, I don't.
No best story?
No best stories.
Tom, do you want to say a couple words?
Let's see, how long will it be? I just wrote down a couple things just so people didn't know. I mean, Mike's been with us since, January 31st of 1994. First, we promoted him to sergeant in August 14th of 2017. And of course, now his retirement date here on April 30th of 2021. But that doesn't tell the whole story in between those 27 plus years. I mean, Mike started out as a patrol officer, moved up his way to a field training officer. He was our school resource officer for many numerations and stuff. I mean, he was the first one up there from our department, I think. And then he went back several times when we needed the help. That's the one outstanding thing in Mike's history, is that he's always done whatever we've asked of him, and has always looked out for the department. I mean, he's been in investigations, that numerous rotations, whenever, we needed somebody else to go in there because we didn't have somebody. Mike did, I mean, through the years 2006 through 2014. Acting sergeant as you know, we've been up and down on people numerous times, lost a lot of people at different times. Mike stepped up and was that, mentored the younger officers, always cared about things. He was numerous rotations acting sergeant from 2008 to 2016, and then we finally made him a real sergeant there and stuff. He's probably the only person in this department's history that probably passed probation as an acting sergeant, that he put that much time in doing it and everything else. So, yeah, I mean, really a rare individual, and he's always cared most about the younger officers, taking the time to make sure that somebody looked out for them, they learned what they needed to know out there. And with all the different things he did within the department, he knew that, and that was really special. And as a chief, having that was very special, having a person like you to do that, reminding me what we needed to do with the younger officers and everything else. And for that, I thank you very much, Mike. A few other things that he did then, even later on, fill in temporary assignments as an investigator. But one thing that we should notice too out here is Mike, during his time, which is really rare for a police officer, especially when you're talking 27 years plus and whatever, he has no recorded motor vehicle accidents.
Recorded.
Wow.
As many of us here, me included, can attest, that's tough to do, okay? I mean, when you spend that many hours on the road, doing all those things, stuff like that, to not get dinged by somebody else or whatever, just happenstance, it is really rare, but that's just, again, goes to show what type of person Mike was and attention to detail he played and everything like that. And most of all will be missed here, which I've been missing right away and stuff, is without your help on the schedule, which you have for years and years. It's another thing he undertook back when I first started as chief, learning it and stuff like that. And that's so another big shoe we have to fill there going forward, and we will. But Michael, it's been a pleasure to have you here for all these years as a compatriot or co-worker, and really to assist me as chief and everything I like that. This department's really going to miss you. It's a big hole we're not really going to fill, and that's okay. But you know, we wish you the most in your retirement and enjoying your family and stuff. And by God, you've earned it. You know, so please enjoy, and thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything to say?
I guess not.
He saves his dings for at home.
That's all right. We call that a dedicated employee.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
You bet.
So, cheers. Yeah, let's get a picture. Love the mask.
Hold on,
Are you
what?
smiling?
Hold on to my wallet. Good, thank you, sir. Yep.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, stories of you when you were young.
If you all want to stay for the meeting, you can. Okay, that was good to have. So at this time, we have the consent agenda. That's the April 20th workshop meeting minutes, the April 20th regular meeting minutes, general accounts payable of $455,045.55, the ED accounts payable of $1,216.33, the HRA accounts payable of $496.94, and the review of the 2020 financial report with the city's audit from Malley,
MMKR.
Yeah.
MMKR. Oh, there we go, MMKR, perfect. This time, if any council member would like to pull an item, they can do so at this time. Councilmember Thurston?
Item D, EDA accounts payable.
Item E will,
D, as in dog.
oh, D. I am getting older, so my hearing is going. So we'll pull item D. Anybody else? If not, motion for the consent agenda without item D.
So moved, Your Honor.
Moved by Councilmember Peterson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have the meeting open to the public, and we would ask if you keep it to a limit of 3 minutes. And the first one I have here is Don Beanick. Welcome, Don, and again, I sincerely apologize for yesterday. I know you came and,
I think we give Don a round of applause. It's been a long time since he's been in here.
Don, it is so good to see you.
Thank you, thank you. It's a green light is on, okay. And anyway, this is 17 months ago was my last meeting here. And 2 days later, I was in the hospital with a breathing tube. And they told me it was a severe case of pneumonia, but now we're having, you had mentioned it, and some other people, Barb downstairs mentioned it. And it was 21 days between, well, St. Joe's was 11, you came to see me on the 20th at Bethesda. They wanted to put me some other place after Christmas, but my sister fought that, and I was home with home care for, well, 4 to 6 weeks. And I lost about 10 to 15 pounds. And, but I'm back. I got a little trouble with my hip now, but,
And you lost your voice, which,
well, I lost my voice. You mentioned that.
yep,
And now everybody I talked to, they said your voices got stronger, and even my sister said the same thing. My voices got stronger, so I had a paralyzed vocal cord. And they don't know really what it was from, but could have been from the tube or it could have been from something else. So, but anyway,
with all the talking you do, you brought your voice back, so you exercised.
I suppose.
yeah.
So anyway, but I thought I'd come tonight. It's 17 months actually, basically. Would be the 5th when I ended up in the hospital. So, but my oxygen level in the living room when Bill called, it was 84. And the ambulance was 73. So it was going down. So anyway, I thank everybody for the cards that Mary had gotten out. And Terry came to see me. Candy sent me a card. And then the 2 new people that just got sworn in, I had met Tim Cole before, but I had been to council meetings since 2004, and I don't know, probably missed 10 to 15 meetings. And now I missed 17 months in a row. And then March started the pandemic, and everything was shut down. So, and I waited till everything kind of cleared up a little bit, and they called yesterday after I was here that they said, yeah, you can come to the meeting. So I figured I'll come today then. So I thank everybody and
It's great to
for
see.
everything.
great
Remember
to see
me,
you.
and like I said, I'm looking better than you when you seen me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, thank everybody, and hopefully to come once in a while and see what's happening here. I have seen a lot of changes. I just come in here and it's changed, so.
Got less hair?
No, the hair is still the same.
Okay.
Hair is still the same, so. Anyway,
Welcome,
thank
welcome
everybody.
back, Don. We're glad to see you.
Thank you for the applause and stuff that I am back walking and a little bit, but I don't think I can cut grass, but at least I'm up and around.
Yep.
So, anyway, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you,
Don.
Don.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll be seeing more of you. John Schmal. Welcome, John. It looks like you've been at the hospital, too.
Yes, and they said it should have hurt more than I said it did. Other than, I said, no, it doesn't bother me. So anyway, but that was, how can you say and not be happy with it? Didn't hurt as bad as they thought. They said it's the worst, rotator cuff surgery is the worst surgery for pain that you can go through. But anyway, it didn't. First of all, I want to say, John Schmal, 2750 Chisholm Avenue. First of all, I want to say thank you for the change in the agendas where you notify with a little note as to what changed when the agendas come up. And then within the agenda is the actual item in red, just like they do when the planning commission is going to change an ordinance or something. So 383 pages, it only took 10 seconds to find it, rather than having to go through 2 of them and 383 pages to try to find it. Anyway, the real reason I want to be up here, or I'm up here right now, is that I spoke to this subject about 3 months ago, and that was the situation of finding out my neighbor's electric service is on my property. And I brought it up, and as usual, nothing happens. So anyway, I was told by the electric superintendent that I would have to dig down myself and prove to him that that red line that's on the grass is not where it is, but I had to dig down myself and find the electric line and say, oh, look, there it is. Now, I don't even know what would happen if I did do that. They probably would have said, you're a good boy, and end of story. But so I'm here to say, I'm now in the situation of the non-dominant hand, and I do have this tool that I could use in my non-dominant hand to maybe dig down 4 feet to try to find it. But in between this, what has happened was that item that was in the, on the agenda that had to do with Masabi Circle, where there was a garage on what you would call a dry wash. I've never known that you would have a dry wash in a city that would overflow the sewer, or take over from the storm sewer system, and it was a easement that said you can't build anything there because there's going to be water rushing through the area. And I don't know if there were attorneys involved in that or whatever, but that's what happens when someone impinges on the city's rights. But when the city impinges on a citizen's right, then that's me. That's where we're getting into this thing. And additionally, at the last meeting, what did we buy? We bought a super hydraulic excavator that will, in a minute, find anything. I've never seen one work. I had a friend tell me how it works, and he says, they're cool. But it's pressurized water that they put over a spot, and it makes a hole, shoo, just like that. Sucks up all the rocks, all the dirt, and whatnot. But I'm supposed to use this in my present state to find it. I find that unacceptable. But if it is unacceptable and I have to accept it, then have the city say to me, you're out of luck, John. This is what you have to do, and we're not going to change. So I would appreciate, and being told, if that's the way it is, just don't ignore me. Ticks me off when I get ignored. If you're going to tell me bad news, tell it to me. I can live with it. And then I can use some money to get an attorney and go from that point on. But that's the problem. The last item, short item, supposedly the secret meetings or off-the-record meetings on the Diamond in the Rough Community Center are over. And when they're over, you're supposed to be able to get a audio copy of the proceedings. Now, number one, the meetings will have to be over. And number two, where would I get an audio copy of the proceedings?
City managers.
And make a request for those. We'd be happy to provide that.
I could do it verbally without having to type with this hand?
Sure.
Okay, I'll be in Thursday to say I would like to have that and find out exactly what the proceedings were. They would be interesting to me. So anyway, that's where I am.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, you'll take note on the...
Yep, I will. Yes. Took note on the electric service also.
Okay. RT. Welcome to volleyball season.
Yes. We are in full swing right now. We're going down to nationals here in about a month or so. John, I'd be interested in that too. Yeah, I mean, if any decisions have been made, I mean, that's kind of why I came today. I haven't heard anything regarding our offers, et cetera. I know we submitted them back in February. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for working with the attorney and Scott, working to get a lease in place for the next year and a half or whatever that is. We're working with the attorney on that now, and I appreciate that. I just want to make the council aware that we are going to submit a couple things back. So when you are looking at that draft lease, the things that we're going to send back, because we have a copy already, we're going to send back 3 things in particular. One, we would like some signage on the building. We asked for that back in 2018-ish, and we think it's a reasonable request with some of the upgrades that we've done inside the building, that we actually have a sign on the outside of the building. We'd also like some assurance about the percentages of the facility that are allocated for us, because our business is growing, as you guys know. We're excited about that, and we want to make sure that we continue in the same usage that we currently have. And then also verbiage in there to address any, heaven forbid, future government shutdown of the facility. Hopefully,
Not gonna happen. Never happen.
Yeah, did that for you. But we want something in there that kind of provides us with a little more guidance, whereas this time when it occurred, it was we initiated that contact with the council through the city manager, and we said, hey, this is what we'd like to do, and that's just how we implemented. So just want something actually in there that addresses that, heaven forbid it does come up again. With that said, we would love to know, I mean, the status of our current offers, because we're kind of in this situation right now where we're under the assumption that the council is still considering offers, our offer, as well as the other offers that you had, in negotiating this current 1.5 or so year lease. Do you guys have any updates on that?
I think we're working with the city attorney and the city manager. I don't think we can negotiate anything up here.
Okay, and that's not what I'm necessarily asking you to negotiate right now, just if any decisions have been made or anything like that, we just like to be made aware of it. And if there are any negotiations that need to take place, I mean, we are more than happy to sit down and go through line by line and see what the city's needs are for that space. I think that's how our offers were unique, in a sense that we tried to address some of the things that the city had going on, like we want the library to stay and we want to work that out. So if there are other items that actually need to be negotiated, I mean, we want to sit down with someone and actually have that negotiation. So just know that we're here. We're going to continue working on the lease that is currently submitted to us for now, but we'd love to know if, I mean, any decisions were made or anything like that, and then also
Again, I
if
think
negotiations need to
it goes
happen.
back to the city manager and city attorney, so.
Great. Well, then we look forward to hearing from you, so.
I mean, I can wait till the general, or can I just make a comment quick here? I mean, I think it's a pretty simple answer. At our last closed session meeting, there was consensus that we're no longer going to sell the building. And I don't know why that hasn't been communicated to you, but that was the consensus, and that's why the meetings are over, and that's it. That's the answer to your question. I mean, I don't know why we can't answer that to him today.
And I think that's a good point, Scott, because I think this keeps coming up and circulating around. That's why we're working on this lease, and a lot of the points that were just brought up this evening were points that RT has brought up with myself and our attorney that we're working through, but they seem to be coming back redundantly. So we'll make sure that we put these things all in writing so everybody has a clear understanding of these things and they don't keep coming up.
Great.
T, I would assume that should be negotiated through them, that,
Yeah, and-
and I apologize if that hasn't been,
I mean, we
Told-
haven't
told to
really
you.
had any actual like negotiations as far as like, hey, let's sit down and talk about this line item and how that can be adjusted. We haven't had any of that, so that's why I was here today. Like, I have no idea what's going on other than I have an awesome kind of extension that we're working on right now, which is great, but we would like information about that. Now, knowing that the city is not interested in sale, the other portion that we communicated about it directly, that, we would like to stay long-term. So does this need to be a 1.5-year lease, which is approximately what we're working on right now, or does this need to be a longer lease? I mean, those things were in our communications, so let's just make sure that you guys are informed and I'll keep working on it with Scott, and then it's, you guys get those draft leases, you guys can take a look and discuss too.
And I'll just follow up with that. As you were emailed with our attorney, you'll have information on Wednesday of this week with follow-up information. So all this will be included with that.
That's great. Thanks.
Hey, RT, thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anybody, what, you left it up there? Is there anybody out in Sabre?
There is no one with their hand raised right now.
Okay. We'll give it a second here. If there's anybody out there who would like to speak to the council? Okay. If not, we will move into, we have no public hearings. We'll move into city business and action items and recommendations. I'll turn it over to City Manager Dudek.
Mayor, Council, this is a first of a monthly process that some of the new policies and procedures we're putting in place of acceptance of donations. And this is something that's been going on for many years with no formal acceptance. Even some of you are graciously probably donating to some of the things with the city. So what our intention is moving forward is this would be something we would have on the council agenda on a monthly basis, and we would acknowledge and provide a receipt for donations that were provided by residents or businesses or other to the city. So you'll see that on a regular basis. Along with that, you'll see the resolution on your packet here, a list of the donor name, the dollar amount, and also the department that those funds are to be used for or in. So you can see with this resolution this evening, we've got several different donations, and these are all to be allocated to the park fund. So this is something that we'll bring forward every month with a list of those donors and for your approval. And we will also follow that up with a thank you letter also in a form of a receipt to those residents or businesses on their donations.
Any questions for City Manager? Not, the motion is for the City of North St. Paul resolution approving acceptance of donations. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Councilmember Thorson. Second by Councilmember Cole. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. City Manager Dudek.
Mayor, Council, thank you. The next item we have is we've talked about this at our last meeting and workshop previously about some of our commissions. And we've got our attorney here this evening, Shana Coughlin, who would help guide us through this with the ordinance updates. And this has to do with the creation of the Arts and Culture Commission and also the elimination of the Design Review Commission. So what the intention would be that this would be a first reading, go through the information tonight as a first reading. And as with the ordinances that we create, then we would.
You skip B.
Pardon?
B? Amendments to the TIF district?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I jumped right over that. Let me go back to Michaela. My apologies, Michaela. So we'll bring Michaela on. We're talking about the TIF districts this evening and an amendment to our TIF districts. And we have Michaela from Baker Tilly, who has worked with us for a long period of time on these projects. And I'll turn it over to Michaela to explain that.
Welcome, Michaela.
Are you there, Michaela?
You muted or?
Here.
Can you hear me now?
Now we have you. There you go.
And we
Okay,
can-
sorry about-
And we can see you.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. It's been quite a while. Again, what I'm bringing for you tonight is the proposed modifications to your existing tax increment financing districts number 4-10 and 4-11. And just as a background reminder, those two tax increment districts were established back in July of 2019. to facilitate redevelopment of the Anchor Block North sites. They were established with 4-10 being a housing tax increment district to facilitate a multifamily housing project, and 4-11 was established as a soils condition district to remedy the poor soils and facilitate additional commercial development. The purpose of the modifications before you tonight are to, one, for tax increment financing district number 4-10, the housing district, due to timing of development and delays with COVID and other items. The amendment for you related to that district is to to change the election of the receipt of first increment. The original TIF plan had assumed development would begin construction in 2019 and 2020, creating the first tax increment revenue in 2022. But again, due to the timing for development, the recommendation is to modify that election to receive the first increment in 2023, which would allow for additional collection of one additional year and provide more flexibility to the council. There's not being proposed an amendment to the budget itself, so it would be in line with what the original projections are, but would align the timing of development with the collection of increment. The tax increment financing district number 4-11, the recommendation is to increase the budget of for that district. The proposed development in that district, the 2 commercial buildings, are resulting in a higher taxable value than what was originally expected when the district was created. And by modifying the district and increasing the budget, again, it provides the city council with additional flexibility for use of the funds. One additional background, both of these districts were established with specific purposes. The housing district is restricted to using increment for the housing and related improvements. And the soils condition district is for financing of the soils and acquisition cleanup costs. The purpose of the increment will be to reimburse for a portion of the cost within both districts, as well as provide reimbursement to the developer within 4-10, the housing district, for a portion of the housing costs. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you might have, but again, the action item before you would be to consider the two resolutions modifying each of the respective tax increment financing districts.
So the purpose hasn't changed at all? It's just the timing?
That is correct. The anticipated development is still the same. The actual total number of units within the housing district has been refined to be 128 units, but the purpose for which each of the districts was created and the type of development has not changed from when the district was created.
And again, Mayor, the good portion of this is that our values were higher than anticipated on the north parcels where the 2 units are there. So that anticipated dollar amount value is higher than what was anticipated early on. And then extending this again because of construction time and when we would have the full value of the buildings in place. That's why we're asking to extend this.
Okay. Any questions for Michaela? If not, the motion is for a resolution approving the modification to the tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing district 410. We'll do 2 separate ones. So we'll do the 410 first. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Thorson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Peterson. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Second resolution is a resolution approving the modification to the tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing soils condition, District 411. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cole,
Second.
second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. City Manager Dudek. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you very much, Michaela.
Thank you.
And I apologize, now we'll go back to Shana Coughlin, and this again is on our commissions that we've talked about in the past. So this would be a first reading to create the Arts and Culture Commission and also the potential for the elimination of the Design Review Commission. And the intent behind the Design Review Commission, that has been on hiatus for a period of time, and the proposal would be to eliminate that commission, and those activities would be formally picked up by the Planning Commission. We've got a couple members that were previously on the Design Historical Review that are, at least one of those, that are a member of the Planning Commission now, so that expertise will carry it forward and have some history with that also. So again, this evening would be a first reading of these ordinance changes, and then this would be listed on our website up till our upcoming meeting on May 18th, and then both of these items would come back for your consideration for approval at that time. And if there's any changes to the proposed ordinance or things like that, or input that we receive from the public between now and then, we would have time to react to that and then bring it back on May 18th for your action. With that, I'll turn it over to Shayna for her comments.
Great. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. As you can see before you, there are two proposed ordinances. The first one would, in fact, as our city manager explained, abolish the Design Review Commission. And then the second one is a bit more substantial, and that does establish the Arts and Culture Commission. It is within the authority of the City Council to establish commissions whenever those commissions could be helpful to the City Council. They serve in an advisory capacity, so the City Council will still retain authority over any final decisions. However, it should be noted, consistent with how the Design Commission was established, the composition of the Arts and Culture Commission would be appointed by the mayor and with the approval of the City Council. And then any members could be removed if necessary, also by the mayor with the approval of City Council. So if you see anything that stands out, as our city manager indicated, tonight is a first reading. So if there is anything that stands out to any council members in terms of areas that may need to be revised to meet the city's needs, we can certainly do that prior to posting the ordinance. There's a 10-day period to post it before the council would actually vote on whether or not to adopt the ordinance. So with that, if there are any questions or concerns or just feedback in general about the ordinance during this first reading, we'll take that back and then revise it accordingly if there are any concerns about the way it was drafted as it stands before council this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna. Any questions for Shayna? Councilmember Thorson.
Yeah, I was, absent from the last meeting, so I apologize if this was discussed at that point. But I guess my concern is that, one issue we've had with some of these other commissions that have been on hiatus is that they don't meet on a regular basis, and then sometimes there's attendance issues with members. So my concern is that there's, if it's, and I apologize, I glanced over this and all the 389 pages, I didn't even catch this in here, but that there is some verbiage about the expectation that these commissions meet on a regular basis, and that there's some sort of attendance expectation that if you're a member and, you go on a hiatus, that, you're automatically going to be removed and that a replacement will be found.
Thank you for that feedback. And that could be addressed in a couple of different ways. One way is that within the ordinance, we could require that once the commission starts its work, that it puts together bylaws that would have to be then approved by City Council. That may be a good way to handle that with the directive to the commission that they need to set regular meetings, and then also ensure that members are regularly attending those meetings. But we can work in some language that might make sense. I don't know if council wants to specify in the ordinance that the commission has to meet on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis or quarterly, or if we want to instead perhaps consider just approving the commission's bylaws, but directing them to create bylaws that would account for the attendance and the regular set meetings. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Shayna? If not, I believe I have two here, and that is the motion is for an ordinance amending the North St. Paul City Code of Ordinances.
No action this evening, Mayor.
It's just a first reading.
Correct.
So
Oh,
we don't have to take
Yes.
action.
no action.
No action on it.
Okay.
This is basically just information for you, first reading on that. And again, any feedback that you have or
Well, these are the future.
these are the future.
Okay,
This
got
is what would come back to you unless there's any,
Got
we
it.
hear any feedback from you. And then we'll also post this on our website for those 10 days. And this would be proposed to come back on our May 18th meeting.
Or any other feedback, get a hold of either city manager or Shayna.
And it'll be posted on our website for comments.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you, Shayna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next item, Mayor, if I can, this would be for a Cowan Elementary addition and a conditional use permit amendment. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Swaber, our planning consultant.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, City Administrator Dudek, and thank you, Mayor and City Council. Let me get my PowerPoint started here. Yes, this is a conditional use permit amendment, actually, to Cowan Elementary. They have an existing conditional use permit at the site. The proposal is to construct a 1,750 square foot addition, which would be both the security entrance improvement as well as some administrative offices that we'll go over here in a second. The upgraded security entrance would be along Margaret Street, and this use is a conditional use within the R1 district. So on the left is the aerial photo of the existing site, and then I'm highlighting the new addition, which would be essentially north of that sidewalk you see coming to the existing entrance over from Margaret, just north of the parking area. Part of that sidewalk will be covered by the new entrance, which we'll go into more detail here. So the portion that will go over the existing sidewalk is that weather vestibule and then the security vestibule. You would notice that in what is labeled the security vestibule, there is a window to the receptionist's office, so somebody could see who's coming in, buzz them in if needed. The other portions within the addition is an office and a conference room, the principal's office, and then the nurse's station. The area where those offices are currently located will be converted into more offices and a calming room, but no new classrooms will be created as a part of this addition. You see here are the standards for the R1, and all those standards are met with this proposed addition. Here's the elevations of the addition. This is the east side, so facing Margaret, and then the north side that would be facing South Avenue. Here is the setbacks from the existing Margaret Avenue, so it will be about an 85-foot setback. They will be relocating 2 trees, and we'll address that in one of our conditions of approval. They do have a rooftop mechanical equipment that's going to go on top of the addition that will be screened with a louver screen as required by code. Parking is the area I'd like to highlight. They currently have 3 lots, but the southern lot on Margaret Street is only partially improved. In addition, there's some striping that could be improved in this area, but they stated to us that they have 60 employees, both now and after the addition. Would want these parking lots to be improved and striped for 60 parking stalls. If we looked at the code says there should be one parking stall per classroom plus one for every 7 students. If you look at the proposed compared to the change, it doesn't change the number of classrooms. It doesn't change the number of students. So our code requires 85, but I'd point out that this code applies to all schools. So it treats elementary schools the same as middle schools, and then the same as high schools. And as we know, particularly for high schools, there's a lot of students that would drive themselves. In the case of elementary, that's not happening. So it's not that we're ignoring this issue, saying they don't need to meet the parking requirement. It's since they are not expanding the uses that we determine the parking, they're not expanding the number of students. This is an existing legal non-conforming use. So again, we're recommending that they improve the 3 parking lots they have, including striping, to provide 60 parking stalls. There are no changes to the site lighting, so nothing to address there. The Planning Commission did conduct a public hearing. No one spoke at the public hearing. Here are the 6 conditions within your resolution. Just want to highlight 2 of them. The first, that when the 2 trees are relocated, that they be relocated between the school building and either Margaret Street and or South Avenue, and that the parking areas be improved to provide 60 parking stalls. So with that, I would stand for any questions that the City Council may have.
Any questions for Councilmember Peterson?
Yeah, the parking on Margaret Street was always an issue. I know there was some signage put up, but because of the neighbors. So if we got improved, lining of the other lots, they wouldn't be parking on Margaret Street? Could you assure that?
Let me share my screen again and go back to the aerial photo.
Yeah, and it wasn't the school teachers so much, it was the cafeteria people that would only work kind of part-time, but it did really encumber the neighborhood. But I know the signages helped, I know that was done last year, but, thank you.
So there's this southern parking lot, which is actually on a separate parcel, but still under ownership of the school district. It's only partially improved now. If they finish that improvement and direct their employees to park there, that should help to resolve the parking issue on Margaret Street.
Okay, that's good, because I know I used to live up by there, and it was always a constant battle, because they were blocking mailboxes and the such, so that would be a good improvement, thank you.
Councilmember Thorson?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring that same issue up
So was I.
because that has been an ongoing concern for many, many years. I'm not going to use the resident's name, but it's pretty obvious who they're across the street. It was district staff parking on the side of the road, obstructing mailboxes. There was issues with garbage being, left behind, and it just, we want to be good neighbors and we want to work together. But, the constant issues there just seemed like, there was no give and take. And so I'm happy to hear that they're going to, it sounds like expand the parking to where this will not be an issue. But, my concern is that, it's a school and it's, parking's always an issue and everyone struggles with it. And sometimes it's a good problem to have, like in the example of downtown, if we have tons of people coming there at patronizing businesses, I think that's a problem we look forward to trying to address. But in this situation, it seems like a pretty small ask, and the fact that he's had to make his own sign and put it on the mailbox and ask, please don't park in front of the mailbox, because then the post office will refuse to deliver his mail because it creates some unsafe situation where the postal employee needs to back up or whatever, and they just refuse to do that. So, you can have a little empathy and sympathy for the individual that if, you're relying on mail to be delivered on a regular basis, and because people are refusing to just not park and block the mailbox, so I guess that would be my concern too, that, that is made crystal clear, and that any kind of, request from us as a city as we approve this, that they please be respectful and mindful of the neighbors and not do things like block mailboxes and leave trash in the residents' yards. It seems like pretty common sense things, but because they've been not just one-time issues, but perpetual issues, I think it makes sense to state that publicly, and I concur with Councilmember Peterson's comments as well, so.
Mayor, I think if need be, I think we do have a representative from the school district on here this evening also, if you need any comment or question from them.
Well, yeah, if we can, if they heard our comments and maybe comment from our
I think we
comment.
have the business director, Randy Anderson from the district, and Sean Kelly, I believe they're architect from Wold Engineering.
Yeah, Mayor and.
Welcome, Randy.
City council members. Say that again?
Welcome, Randy.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, we're excited for the Cowan renovation and the security renovations that we're going to do to the building to make it secure. That was part of what was approved by our stakeholders 2 years ago with the referendum. And so we're doing security projects at Cowan, Weaver, and Gladstone. Also with this Cowan project. So yes, that south lot there is kind of partial gravel, partial asphalt. You are so correct. Cowan being only on 8 acres of property, was built at a time where students walked to school, and so nowadays you wouldn't build an elementary school on less than 15 to 20 acres of land. So yeah, it's been kind of a struggle and a strategy to try to get parents in and out and buses in and out, and of course parking for our staff, also. So we are looking to, and Sean can kind of concur with me here, we're looking to renovate that southern parking lot, with bituminous. We're looking to stripe the lots, etc. And I think, Sean, tell me, we're looking at about 70 parking spots. Is that correct?
Yeah, good evening, Sean Kelly with Wold Architects and Engineers. I think, yeah, at our preliminary revised layout, which would include restriping of existing parking lot area, along with, as Randy mentioned, completing the pavement on that south lot. We looked at about a maximum of 72 stalls. It would depend a little bit on where handicap accessible stalls land, but certainly meeting the 60 stall condition shouldn't be a problem.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Randy.
Yep, no problem. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. Any other questions for city manager or? And I know that is a problem because I've also met with those homeowners over there, and it's not well received when they are parking in front of, like you say, the mailbox, and they can't get the mail. It's not being delivered and that type of thing. So, yeah, not good. So the motion is for resolution approving a conditional use permit amendment for a security entrance addition for Cowan Elementary located at 2131 Margaret Street North. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Thorson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Peterson. Any other discussion? Oh, that was you? Councilmember Wong. There goes my hearing. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. I apologize, Councilmember Wong. City Manager Dudek.
Mayor, Council, the next item we have is a request for approval to declare surplus items to be sold at auction. And the first is back from your previous approval, as you were discussing earlier this evening, on hydrovac for the electric utility. This evening, this comes back from our electric director on request to declare the existing hydrovac excavator and the Ditch Witch backhoe trencher as surplus equipment to be sold online. That would be the first request. And there's following, I don't know if you want to take these individually, because there's two separate requests actually. So the first request is for those two items, and then we have an additional request separately several other items to be declared as excess. So if you want to deal with these at one at a time.
So we can't do them all at once?
You could, if they're all excess equipment. I can go into the next one. The other one is related to surplus equipment also, and there's several pieces of equipment listed there. Won't go through the entire list of all those. And then we also have pictures of each piece of equipment so that you can understand what these are. And this is literally an accumulation of items that have either old beyond their use. I can tell you that the first couple items on here are, first one is an older pickup that was out of service from the electric utility and had been previously used by our recreation coordinator and is no longer needed or used. The other one is a vehicle that was previously used by our city mechanic. Formerly from that, it was in our water department and is now declared to be surplus to be sold. Other items as you go through here are miscellaneous items. The first couple are old generators that were removed from fire trucks over the years and replaced with hydraulic generators on the truck. Hydraulic pumps, bolt bins, multiple different surplus items that have accumulated and beyond their useful life or need. And this is all items that would be requested to be declared as surplus and sold at auction.
Looks like they're doing a lot of house cleaning over.
Correct. Correct.
Any questions on the equipment? Anybody question anything being sold? Because I'll do one motion for all of them. If not, motion is for declaration of equipment surplus and those two items. Nope, declaration of equipment surplus, and that's the 2014 Ring-O-Matic Hydrovac excavator, 2016 Ditch Witch backhoe trencher, and then the list of items, other surplus equipment as listed. Is there a motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Moved by Councilmember Peterson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Cole. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we go back to item D, which is the EDA accounts payable of $1,216.33. And Councilmember Thorson.
Yeah, and this is a similar item that I've pulled, I believe, on two prior occasions, and just same concern that, I don't quite understand why, this is an agreement between two private entities that, why we are getting involved in paying these utility bills for the use of this building for the private entity's construction, in lieu of a construction trailer. I don't really understand why it's getting paid out of the EDA, but we've been assured that the agreement is that AMCON will reimburse the city for these expenses. Do we have any confirmation as of today if they haven't reimbursed the city for any of these dispersed amounts?
No, they have not reimbursed us for anything, as we have not billed them for anything at this point. The agreement and use of the building has ended the end of April, and they moved out, and those utilities accounts have been restored back to the original owner of the building, and now we will be getting accumulation of those costs that have been charged, and those fees will be recouped.
Okay, so this is the last utility bill that will come up, and then at some point, they're gonna reimburse the council for that cumulative total, and
The city will be reimbursed, that's correct, and they were effective May 1st, they are no longer in the building.
okay. Great, thank you.
So there won't be any bills in June, or next.
I don't believe so, except to see where how the billing was cut off with that. But as of May 1st, the contractor is now working their construction office out of the new building. They're located in the basement of that building now, and so the city is no longer involved with that private structure at all.
The motion is for the EDA accounts payable of $1,216.33. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Cole. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City Manager Dudek.
That's the last business action item.
Okay. Reports of City Manager.
Sure. Few updates. As we talked about the anchor site this evening, again, and construction continuing down there. The apartment complex, they've started to bring in lumber, so I believe you'll start seeing the building to start rising. All the footings are in for the entire building all the way around and backfilled. They've got the exterior garages and things like that to do, but framing will begin now on that building.
Do they have any problem with theft of lumber now, with lumber prices being so high? You'd think that'd be...
I hope not. The entire site is fenced, so all the way around there, the site is fenced. But yes, your point, Mayor, is lumber prices are just skyrocketing. You know, a sheet of 4x8 sheet of OSB plywood chipboard, basically, used to be like, you know, $9 a sheet. It is now $46 a sheet. And so those construction costs are just continuing to rise beyond. But yes, that entire site is fenced and those things are in place. That work is continuing down there. Again, we talk about this, but now we're in the month of May, and before long, Quick Trip will be beginning their project. They had estimated beginning on May 31st, so we're coming close to that. The storage facility is, landscaping is in now, trees are in, sodding is in, irrigation is in on that site, so they're nearing their completion. That's going along very well. Also, this past week, there was the final lift of pavement was applied to the new Anchor Drive, so we have the full complement of asphalt on that road now and up to full strength for the traffic that's going through there. The work in the downtown continues. We moved forward in finalizing the plans on the sidewalk design that you had proposed at the last meeting. So contractors are being notified of that, and you should probably see concrete work starting down there within the next 2 weeks. So we're hoping to get that going with no issues and working on some final plan changes or adjustments to that sidewalk plan for in front of the post office where those planters are currently. Those will come out to make sure that we've got accessibility out of the post office parking lot up to the sidewalk with accessibility on both sides of that. So those are being worked out, and that work will begin. We have taken some picnic tables back out to a couple of our hospitality locations in the downtown for their use before work gets started, but would anticipate probably by July that all the sidewalk work will be done, if not long before that, in and around the downtown, with the exception of the south side of 7th Avenue in front of the new construction building. That sidewalk work won't be completed until closer to probably late summer, early fall, as that building comes to completion. Several other things that working on and doing, and my intention is to go back to a council update letter. So you'll see that restarting here soon to give you some updates on different things as we're working on in between council meetings as we've done in the past. And then, but one of the things that we're working on is all the technology that we've been doing and putting in place and growing with. We're currently just started a test with Google and doing a test with that with the Google platform, Google Workspace, with email and shared drives and storage, document storage, a whole host of things. So we're doing a month-long test with that, comparing it to our current use of Microsoft Outlook and enterprise version and how that works in comparison, doing a cost analysis of that, and also a security on the securities of that. So we've got about 20 different people throughout the organization and a couple outside of the organization, our city attorney's office, and one from our cable providers to help with that to make sure that everything works if we move forward with that. Looking at just on a front end, it appears that we would have a very significant cost savings if we go to that model, but we're a ways away from that yet. We want to make sure all the issues and concerns that are there and mostly the security pieces of that.
Are other cities
Yes, there's other, Sherburne County is moving to the platform. University of Minnesota's been on this platform for years. Our school district has been on it for years. There's entire states and different areas across the country that have been moved to it and are using it. So we're going through all of that and looking at it and doing a comparison. As our costs are continuing to rise with software and IT uses and looking at this. And this would all be cloud-based storage, so it eliminates all of our on-based servers and the maintenance of those things. VPN connections, when we've got people trying to work either out in the field with inspection programs or things like that, or even working from home, having to have a VPN connection to remote back in. All those costs go away. Costs that we're incurring for meetings as we're doing tonight, virtual meetings, we're paying an extra cost with that. All those types of services would be included in that workspace platform. So we're doing that due diligence, and we'll see where that comes back, and we'll keep you posted on that. If there is any changes in the future with it, none of the email addresses or anything like that would change. All that would stay in place, but we'll keep you up to date on how that process goes.
Could we update Don Bienick's computer at the same time then, or?
Sure, we'll give him a Chromebook.
Councilmember Peterson.
And a lot of requests, when's the car show going to start? Do we have a definite date?
I hope the car show starts. It's something that we're monitoring all the time. At this point, I don't believe we'll be looking at a June, that first Friday in June, but I think what we're looking forward to, at least for planning sake right now, is probably that first Friday in July. And I know the car show is looking at that with their board and talking about things. Mayor's probably got some feedback on that also. But I think at this point, that's kind of the look, is potentially to look at that first Friday in July, pending where we are with everything going on. But to at least look at it at that point. And by that time also, the majority of the sidewalk work and all that stuff would be done in the downtown. The work on 7th Avenue Street project from last year would be finished. The final overlays on that would be done, and have a lot of that work out of the way. Let's see, the civic clerk, we've been talking about that. It's another platform for the council agendas and things like that. Staff has been working on that, doing some training on that and getting ready to implement that. So looking forward to that platform also being able to put things out well in advance and routine things and really become more planful and just planned and routine and ready for things, instead of the platform that we're working off of now will give us much more quality and presentation. So that's moving along. I think Margaret Street, there's work being done now on the ditch improvements on Margaret, south of Cowan School. That was started during the winter as part of the cooperation with the watershed district, so that work is going on down there now. We'll be bringing in some dirt to soften some of those slopes around the residence house there, with the addition of the pipe work that's being done and some erosion control measures, and then replanting and restoring that area. So that work is ongoing right now.
Is there a problem that happened the other day? It sounded like the neighbors there saw a crew come out, look at it, and they're all shaking their head. What's going on?
No, not.
And there hasn't been any movement in a few days.
No.
They're just questioning. It looked like something happened, but
Yeah, nothing.
we don't know anything
Nothing that
happened.
we're aware of, no, that's moving along. And I think we've got Morgan, our city engineer, is on site. He can make some comment on that, because I know he's been in conversation with them. Morgan?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have generally regular check-ins with the watershed representatives. No, there no concerns or no problems that we've been made aware of. As Scott mentioned, they're starting with some of the storm sewer utility work right now. They intend to move on to some of that grading and restoration work afterwards. And then they'll be moving on to another project area. So, we're probably anticipating them being around for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, but not a significantly long period of time before they're wrapped up. We did hear recently, and I filled in the city manager today, They did chip a couple panels of sidewalk, not a big deal. They damaged it on their own. It wasn't originally intended to be removed and replaced, but that will be removed and replaced on their dime. That will be no cost to the city since that was just an accident. Those things do happen occasionally. But that was really, that's the latest, and things are proceeding well as far as we can tell right now. So no concern that we're aware of right now.
Thank you.
Trying to think, yeah, any other areas or questions, comments from the council? Again, we'll start with a regular update going on as we used to do in the past, being we stopped those weekly meetings and just doing back with our first and third meetings. So I want to make sure that we fill in with that in between there and keep you updated on items.
When's our budget schedule going to start?
Budget meeting will be at our May 18th meeting. Our next coming meeting, we'll start that.
And then are we going to go back to the other Tuesdays or?
Maybe I'll let, I don't know if Jason is on here because he had a schedule laid out. Jason, our finance director, are you available?
Yep. Hey, Scott, Mayor, Council.
Do you want to touch on the schedule that we've been talking about for the budget?
Yeah, so I didn't catch Councilmember Peterson's question there.
As far as if there's going to be a need to go back to Tuesdays, if we start the meeting on the May 18th talking budget.
Yeah, it's my intent that wouldn't be necessary. I think the May 18th meeting will hopefully set the tone for the process and hopefully kind of identify what the process, I guess, will entail. So hopefully we can kind of set a baseline budget and kind of gauge council's perspective on the direction we go. And if we have kind of a uniform consensus, I think it'll streamline the process and hopefully cut out a lot of those additional meetings that we've had in the past.
And I can tell you that just the work that's being put together with the stories that you've seen in the past and the new use of the OpenGov and the layout of that, I think is going to streamline a lot of what we've been used to in the past and the back and forth and taking away some of the pie in the sky budgeting per se. You know, that we really want to bring forward a budget that's as close to where we believe we need to be and get your input. But you'll see a lot of information laid out on this ahead of time.
Look forward to it.
Yes.
And we did approve a budget schedule earlier this year, and
Correct.
I don't recall, off the top of my head, but I believe that's the schedule we're going to follow. We're not going to be doing
Correct.
what we did last year where we met every Tuesday, and the off weeks were budget meetings, so.
Anything else to add to that, Jason?
Yeah. That just the one caveat is going to be this initial focus is going to be kind of on the levy supported operations, and depending, it's really a different format that we're bringing forward. So, and it's a lot of information. Obviously, we've got 2 new council members. So the first swing at this is really going to be focused on the levy portion. Obviously, we have statutory requirements that we need to meet. So if it's received well, then that's going to kind of set the stage for how we'll move forward with the rest of the budgets.
Very good. Thank you. The other thing, budget related, I'd like to have you give some thought to. This would be something that we would propose coming forward at our meeting on May 18th also, and that's the subject of the HRA levy with Ramsey County that we've talked about in the past. So again, just want to bring that up. If you have any thought on that or questions, let me know as we prepare that for our upcoming meeting on May 18th. I would definitely like to hear any input that you have on that.
We have that at the workshop?
Workshop on the 18th,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
But I just want to give you a heads up to that. And if you have any questions between now and then or any information I can gather to help you make your decision, please let me know.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Good. Thank you. Reports of council, commission, committees. Councilmember Cole.
Not a whole lot to report this session. Park and Recreation Commission had another good meeting a couple weeks ago when they last met. They are continuing to work on the park improvement plan and the overall strategic plan with a goal of having it in front of council as quick as possible. They are working through it. Staff is unfortunately having to recreate a lot of what was there. Files weren't found. They've been able to be replicated off of copies that commission members had as well. So they just wanted to ensure council and you, Mr. Mayor, that they are working on it as a top priority for them, and it will get done as quickly as possible. There is a plan that the commission chair, myself, City Manager Dudak will meet sometime this month before their next scheduled meeting, and just kind of see where we stand, where we are, what other needs need to be addressed, and how we can get this thing rolled up and presented in the next month. Park and Rec Commission also will be bringing forward a motion shortly regarding signage for Rotary Park. It was talked about, and I thought it was agreed upon prior to COVID hitting, and then everything has just kind of fallen to the side, and there's conversation around what's it going to look like, what information is it going to contain, et cetera. So as the commission continues to gather their arms around that and make a recommendation, that'll be coming forward as well. But Scott, I don't know if you've had any conversation with the Rotary folks.
And again, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page with what that sign is going to look like and the information contained on it, I think is the important thing. They're very much supportive of doing something down there, and again, all the appreciation for the work that they've done in developing that park over the years. And Councilmember Peterson, asked this evening also about a formal, a thank you or an open house and dedication for that. We haven't done that. The restrooms opened, last year, and under the situation that we've had with COVID, we haven't been able to formally do that, and that's something that we definitely want to recognize that group for.
We've got a whole list of things that need to be added to that.
We do.
And Park and Recreation is excited to announce that they're officially this month, their meetings will start back out in the park. First meeting will be at Housey with a community meeting from 6 to 6:30, and then the Park and Rec Commission starting at 6:30 to whenever it ends. That's it.
Okay. Councilmember Wong.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have any new updates besides our regular scheduled meeting at 6:30 this Thursday via Zoom. We do have a special meeting that has been planned for May 20th, and that's also at 6:30 on Thursday.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, League of Minnesota Cities are planning to actually have some in-person meetings again, so we're getting back to some normal. So it's nice to see people and kind of engage with people again. We're going to have a retreat in September in Winona. I'm looking forward to that. The women in city government had a well-attended virtual program about how this year has changed us or what we learned from it, and hopefully we will not have this reoccurring again. But there was some positive things about Zoom meetings, how efficient it is, and you can get things done, but there's no sidebar, and there's really no engagement and, networking, and I miss that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Thorson.
I have nothing, but I do have a question about the parks meetings taking place in the parks again. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the consensus was that all these meetings will be recorded and televised and broadcast and archived. And what's the plan for that, to accommodate that? If they're going to be held at, various parks, how is that going to take place?
I guess that's something we're going to have to, look at. We definitely have the ability to record. It's just how that's going to work, and we'll have to talk about that because sound is always the issue. When we've got people, sitting out, if we're going to be outdoors and picking up sound from everybody without individual microphones and things like that. So it'll have to be something we talk about and figure out before we get to that meeting. The other, go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Scott. Okay. The other comment I would make today, Mayor, if I could, besides that, just wanted to remind everybody that this Saturday is our citywide cleanup. Big event. We haven't done a citywide cleanup for a number of years. So again, that'll be held at our Public Works building in the lot there this Saturday, May 8th. from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and open to our residents and businesses. We'll have a paper shredding event there, so any of your personal documents or anything you have like that, we'll have on-site shredding to be done right there. Bulk items, anything you may have, are able to bring that down to the Public Works facility for disposal that day. We'll make sure that you're bring some form of identification, utility bill, or driver's license. This is for North St. Paul residents. So again, that'll be 8 to 1 on Saturday.
Is there any need for the council and myself to help out that day?
You're all welcome to be there. We're taking volunteers. We've got a number of volunteers that have already come forth and that are planning on being there, but the council is always welcome to be there. If you are planning on be there as a group, we probably need to post that because we would end up having all of you there. So we would need to do that or know if you're all going to show up or if we're going to have a quorum of council members there.
Gina, can I get a ruling on that?
Yes, that's a good point. There is an open meeting law that we do have to be respectful of course. And part of that is that if there's going to be sort of a meeting that involves at least a quorum of city council, that we should post that as a meeting. However, I mean, in this particular situation, it's a bit of an open question. I'd lean towards that we would not need to notice it as a meeting. Typically, when we notice things as meetings, we do so to permit the public to attend and watch any kind of a discussion take place. And at this kind of a event with a cleanup taking place, it's not, I guess, reasonably anticipated that there would be the kind of meeting format that we would expect to see at a city council meeting. That said, certainly it would be prudent for any members of council to avoid discussions amongst each other at that event. If we do have a quorum attending, that would be of discussions of activities that would be of public interest, then it would be important to avoid those discussions and just focus on the cleanup event and enjoy the day, and certainly have discussions with the attendees, but not formally as a group meeting, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shana.
Oh, we should be okay then.
Yeah, we would love to have.
Just don't talk to me. Just stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah. We'll have a very nice high-vis T-shirt for you to wear so that you can be seen out there as you're directing traffic or loading vehicles or unloading vehicles. Happy to have you.
Good. All I have is, I know every year we do the city manager review. We would like to possibly do that on June 1st as a closed-door meeting. And in between now and June 1st, I'd like to get some sort of form or review of the city manager to all the council members. And they can, and I'm not sure who's going to do that, but I can talk to city attorney and figure that out.
Certainly. Mayor, are you just asking how you would go about placing that matter on the agenda?
Yes.
In that case, you could entertain a motion to place that item on the agenda for the June 1st meeting.
Okay.
And then we would just need a second and a majority vote to select that date and time as the time that we would have that closed session. I should note, I should just note for council's information that according to Minnesota statute, you can hold a closed meeting for a performance evaluation. However, if the individual who is undergoing the evaluation requests that the meeting be open, then the meeting would need to be open to the public. That is the one caveat. However, we can schedule it or motion it as a closed meeting and then give that individual the opportunity to decide whether or not they would like the meeting to be open, consider that, and then finally, once we hold the session, we would make a record of whether or not that individual wishes for the meeting to be closed or open. I I should note, even in a closed session like that, it would be recorded, and the recording would be available to the individual you're evaluating, just so council has that information as you move forward with the process. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion in regards to having the managers review on June 1st as a closed-door session.
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Thurston,
I'll second it, Your Honor.
second by Councilmember Peterson. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion carries. And then you can, Sean, he can determine whether he wants to have that open or closed.
Yes, and it's typical to give someone a bit of notice before asking them that question directly. So at this point, we can leave it open-ended as to whether or not the meeting would be open or closed. We'll schedule it as a closed session, and then at that June 1st meeting, ask the individual whether or not he would wish for the meeting to be open, and then at that time, make the final determination. Thank you.
So you got a few weeks to determine. All right. I have no other general business. Councilmember Cole.
I have none. I will save the other big news for Councilmember Peterson.
Ooh. Councilmember Juan.
Yeah, just a couple things that might be of interest to council. And also the HRA, which is council as well, is that Ramsey County had worked with the University of Minnesota on a mapping prejudice project on all the covenants and deeds in the county. So that might be of interest, and it's a recording, Zoom recording. So if you would like to view that, it's on the county website. Additionally, Ramsey County League of Local Government is hosting a webinar on May 14th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. It's with our neighbors over in Maplewood and their police department around decriminalizing mental illness. So just a few items that may be of interest to council and the public.
Councilmember Peterson.
I know, I bet.
Sounds like you got a big announcement.
I don't know.
There's still. They do it on the news. They tease, so
There's still time to register for the garage sales. There's 25 of them, Carrie said. There's still time, and you get this super duper sign. You gotta have garage sale sign and a little goodie bag from the electric department. And you get your address on the website, and she's looking for more. And you can have it from Thursday till Sunday. Thursday's the big day. I'm kind of into garage sales, but that's the big day because everyone goes up to their lake. But yeah, please do it. It's just kind of a little, you can get rid of stuff. And I think with everything going down at Public Works, it's just going to be a good cleanup weekend. And I want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
If it doesn't sell by Saturday morning, load it up and bring it to Public Works.
I have a feeling everyone's going to be loaded up on Saturday. Councilmember
Maybe
Thurston.
consider donating it to a Goodwill or something before you trash it. I mean, I know sometimes it's easier just to throw it away, but maybe consider that first before you take it to the dump. But just a couple of things. I mentioned this at the, workshop when we had discussion on the Ramsey County HRA levy, and, I'm perfectly fine with bringing it to a vote. But I also like to point out, we don't have to, we're not obligated to vote on it if the consensus is that, there's just no interest in it, that our inaction would be, a sense saying thanks but no thanks, but just to put that out there. But if we do have that scheduled for a vote, I would animately ask that we schedule a public hearing and make notice so the public realizes that we're taking a vote on something that will potentially, it will raise their property taxes. It's just how much, there's been a ballpark figure used right now. So, I know it's not obligated. We're not obligated to do that unless our attorney can correct me. But I think in going along with, in the past, when we have a truth and taxation hearing, when we're discussing budgeting, increase in the levy, there's a public hearing and give people an opportunity to at least come, and a lot of times no one come. Well, John's always there, and he usually has something to say, and we appreciate that feedback, but, you know, I would hate to have, you know, a scenario to where, you know, we don't do that, or we don't at least extend that to the public, we have a vote, and perchance it passes, and then after the fact, people are upset that they weren't aware, or, you know, they didn't get to come and they didn't understand it. So, but I understand this issue has been published in newspapers, and we've had a workshop about it, and, you know, we're doing our best to communicate with the public and make notice, but, you know, I would just request that if we're gonna go down that route, we at least have that on the schedule, or the agenda. For the June 1st manager review, I'd like to request copy of material from last review, if that's available. You know, there was a questionnaire, and I think, you know, I think that might be helpful, especially for our new council members where this is their first process to go that, but I just, you know, I don't know if we have that on record, but, you know, we can always go back and dig through too, but just if that can be made available for the council at some point. And then I've got a letter here. I was talking with another council member in another city, and the topic got brought up about, you know, they heard that Lily News was closed, and kind of were asking, well, how do you guys handle local news? You know, I kind of said, well, you know, we opted to use Star Tribune, Minneapolis Star Tribune. I know that decision to use them was based on circulation and cost, but, you know, it certainly is difficult, or, you know, unfortunate that we lost our local newspaper, and, you know, at some point in time, Lily News would send a reporter, and they would sit through our entire council meetings, and they would ask questions, and, you know, I don't know how often it was used. I mean, obviously, they struggled and they closed, but things change. But he had encouraged me to reach out to the White Bear Press publications and their publisher, Carter Johnson, and I shot him an email, just, you know, initial, hey, you know, would you guys be interested in potentially including North St. Paul in your coverage so we can get that local coverage again? You know, no promises are made, no decision. I'm just trying to gather information to bring forward. So I intend to reach out to him too, just to see, you know, if they are interested, if something like that, what types of steps we need to take. I don't even know if legally we can, you know, make that change, because I think there's something in the state statute that says we're obligated to use the highest something. I apologize for not having the exact stuff on there, but we clearly had the option to choose between Pioneer Press and Star Tribune. I mean, we didn't have to use Star Tribune. We could have used Pioneer Press. So it seems like there's some leeway there, and I think if this is an option, it's something the council should probably consider, especially if the costs to publish public notices are significantly less than that of like the Star Tribune. But I also think would be, you know, relevant to follow up on that. I mean, it's an archaic state law, especially in the, you know, 2021 here, and everything's digital, and we have our own website. I think that's a little more effective tool to make notification to residents than to go through this process of the old school publicizing it, paying whatever, and sometimes you're up against time crunches too, where it makes it almost impossible to do stuff. So, you know, maybe that's something we can follow up with Senator Uyghur and Representative Lilly to, you know, not this current session. They get their hands full with all sorts of stuff, but, you know, maybe placing that bug in their ear to say, you know, at some point, you know, I would think there would be bipartisan support for something like that, because I'm sure other cities are in the same boat. So if we can save a little money and hopefully improve our communications, great. So that was just wanted to bring that up. But I certainly am not, you know, going off and representing the council by anything. It's just certainly
You're not going to be the reporter? for
reaching
North
out,
St.
no, reaching out, gathering information, and you know, whatever comes from that, I'll forward along to everyone, or maybe I can encourage them to come to a meeting and give a presentation, and you know, if that's something they're looking forward to. But I think, you know, having a local news is certainly beneficial to everyone, and it's unfortunate that
I
we
just
lost.
assumed they worked here in North St. Paul, White Bear Press.
Well, they are, well, I mean, his,
Something that they may want to.
yeah, they cover, I mean, obviously
Lake,
White Bear
Quad
Lake,
AI.
Vadnais Heights, it says quad community, I think that's, Forest Lake, Centerville, Shoreview, there's the Citizen here, again, I'm not sure who that all covers, the lowdown, and then North Oaks News, so they're kind of a larger, but it's mostly been all, it's covers Ramsey County, and that's kind of my point of reaching out was like, hey, is North St. Paul, would you be interested in including North St. Paul in that? And then we would use those as for our official notices and whatnot.
I subscribe to it. It's a good newspaper. They do a lot of history on Delwood or Matamidi, and they do some really personal interest things, sports, which is lacking, and, it's just like our old newspaper, Lily News. And,
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm not trying to make disparaging comments about the Pioneer Press or Star Tribune, but it kind of seems like when it pertains to North St. Paul, the only time we're covered is if something negative happens, right? And, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a story run in either publication recently that kind of reflects like how Lily News used to cover the city, right? And so that's all, I'm just, trying to see if we can't work something else out for a better deal for the community, so.
That'd be good. Oh, go ahead.
Everyone saw that piece with Joe Mason last week about the snowman. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. That just put us right back on the map, and Kuzlin's got their, gratitude, and it was just a fun. I had people from all over say, hey, your snowman was on TV, so it was cool to get that coverage, so that was
It was
good.
supposed to be on like a month and a half ago, and it never, kept getting postponed.
Yeah. Because of all, it just seems like the news is always doom and gloom and negativity, so that's where, you look back at Lily News and they seem to have more of a track record of covering more positive local things, so if that's something we can explore and look into, I think that'd be a good thing.
Yep, good, thank you. Anything else? Anybody forget anything? Not, everybody have a happy Mother's Day. Enjoy the weather out there, and spring cleaning this weekend, and use the garage sale and use the spring cleanup down at City Hall. So it'll be right at Public Works. Got it, from 8 o'clock till?
8 till 1.
8 to 1. And any council member wants to go down there and help, I'll be down there, but don't talk to me.
Anything, just no hazardous waste.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cole. Second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
opposed. Meeting adjourned.